I'm Jeff Fritz with SoundStage.com, and I'm joined today by David Goodman. He is the Director of Product Development for Krell Industries, and Walter Schofield, he is the Chief Operating Officer for Krell. How are you guys doing today?
Very good, thanks.
Very well, thank you, Jeff.
Well, thanks for joining me. And, you guys recently had a sneak peek at a very special product that's going to be coming soon from Krell. It is the KSA i400, or at least that's the model number at this point, stereo power amplifier. And so that's what we're here to talk about. I do, just as a brief introduction, and also because I've been wanting to test my Krell trivia history knowledge base. And since David has been there so long, I just want to give everyone a quick introduction to the KSA. The original KSA was launched back in the mid-'80s, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there were 4 generations of KSA power amplifier. There was the 80 and the 200. After that, there was the 150 and 250. And then the final iteration of the KSA amplifiers, the 100S, 200S, and 300S. And that was right before you guys launched into the full power balanced amplifiers. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the reemergence of the KSA, which stands for Krell Stereo Amplifier, into the Krell model line. Have I got that right, guys?
There's actually one more generation at the very beginning, which was the original KSA 50 and KSA 100. That was the fan-cooled model.
Okay, gotcha. Well, so let's talk about the KSA i400 that you guys gave the sneak peek to. Walter, can you give us an overview of that power amplifier?
Certainly. While we're going back to the KSA nomenclature, this is a completely new design Krell amplifier internally. It does harken back to some of our earlier amplifiers from an industrial design perspective, namely the MRA and other amplifiers, but David Goodman has, from input to output, done something completely different. Krell is currently, in my opinion, and a lot of our distributors, dealers, and opinions, making the best sounding product we've ever made currently with the XD amplifiers. We've raised the bar even more significantly with the KSA i400, with technology inherent in the current amplifiers like iBias and XD technology, but with the addition of a new technology that we're just about naming. David introduced. The amplifier is 400 watts per channel. It will double into 4 ohms, double again into 2. We stopped saying it will double into 1 ohm because it's impossible to pull the adequate power out of the wall to get it to do so. But if you had your own electricity generating plant, I guess you could. And there will be a mono version as well, bringing back the KMA, watts per channel. The amplifier will be $35,000 per chassis, so whether it be the stereo amp or each mono block. To further talk about some technology, I think David invented the amp and put it all together. David, can you give us a little bit of information on the current technology and the new?
The I in the KSA i400 stands for iBias, which is our proprietary biasing system that gives you Class A operation without generating as much heat as a typical passive Class A design. And it does it in a unique way where it's actually measuring the output current through one of the output transistors on the rail, and it's constantly making sure that there's always current flowing no matter what, which is the definition of Class A. So we have a closed loop controller which keeps that at a certain low level so that it's always in Class A, but it's only as much as the signalers are requiring at any given point. So for instance, if you're playing at say 10 watts, it's like having a 10 watt Class A amplifier. If you're playing at 100 watts, it's like having a 100-watt Class A amplifier. So it's much more efficient than a passive design, which would be Class A at full power all the time, regardless of what the signal is requiring or the speakers. The other advantage of this system is that because it's measuring the actual output current, it doesn't matter what the impedance of the speaker is, what the nominal impedance is, or how it varies with frequency. This system is always going to keep the output stage in Class A operation up to a certain point. It'll provide up to 400 watts of Class A. So if you're playing an 8 ohm nominal speaker, you'll get 400 watts of Class A. If you're playing a nominal 4 ohm speaker, the amp could do 800 watts into that, but you're still getting 400 watts of Class A in that case. But like I said, it doesn't matter what the speaker impedance is doing, it's always staying in Class A up to that point. So I think it's very unique in that regard. One of the other technologies that we have in there, we're calling XD, is a significant lowering of the output impedance of the amplifier. And what that does is it maintains much better control over the speaker drivers. So if you can imagine the speaker driver being essentially a lightweight on a spring that moves back and forth, you can see that if you disturb it, it's going to bounce back and forth a little bit before it finally settles out. And so the signal is trying to drive that speaker cone to a very specific place every time. And so by having this very low output impedance on there, it locks the driver in place where it needs to be and doesn't allow it any of that extra vibration. And so that provides much more tight, controlled bass. It provides smoother high frequencies as well, because you're damping out all of that excess vibration. The third technology that we have in there is something that maximizes the symmetry between the positive and the negative halves of the circuit, because all of our designs are differential designs, so they use identical circuitry on the positive and negative halves. The circuitry may be configured identically, but the devices are not identical, even though they're specified as being complementary. There's still some differences. So in this particular circuit, we've found a way to maximize that symmetry, and that results in a very high degree of cancellation of the second order harmonic distortion. And what we found is that really opens up the SoundStage. It adds specificity to the performers and the vocalists. It adds depth. It adds space around everyone. So it really improves the realism of the listening experience.
So let me just recap or actually just kind of sum that up. So the very latest technologies from Krell, those that are seen in the XD amplifiers, and then some is what we're saying as far as the circuit design. It's the very latest. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows this isn't a relaunching of the older Krell KSA amplifiers, but this is the very latest in technology from you guys. So one other question that I have on the KSA i400, David, the hardware, you guys, I understand this is a very large, heavy amplifier. Kind of go through the hardware a little bit for us, as far as, I know all the Krell aficionados, they want to know about the power supply, the output devices, that sort of thing. Can you kind of give us a rundown of the hardware side of the KSA i400?
Jeff, before
Sure.
David pipes in on that, and I apologize for the interruption, I just want to be very, very clear that while these technologies such as iBias and XD are inherent in this design, this amplifier in no way resembles any past design with just something added to it. It is completely new.
Gotcha.
Yes, that's correct. This is much more than what we're making right now. So what's inside? First of all, we have two 2700 VA transformers in there for the power supply. That is connected to some rectifiers and a bank of 4700 microfarad capacitors for our main power supply. The mechanical configuration is such that there's a very short path between the power supply and the output stage. And this path consists of gold-plated circuit boards along with silver-plated copper bus bars to carry that power into the output stage. There's also a silver-plated bus bar linking the output stage components together, and very heavy gauge wire with silver-plated connectors leading to gold-plated binding posts on the back. So we've got an inherently very low impedance design from the power supply all the way to the output.
Yeah, no, that sounds really impressive. And so my understanding is the amplifier, the net weight is about 160 pounds. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, that sounds tremendous. And, I know that there's not a launch date for that amplifier at this point. Will you guys be showing the KSA i400, doing any more sneak peeks for the public before the amplifier is actually launched?
Yes, we'll have the amplifier at the Munich High-End show in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you there. So that'll be a fun time. All right. The next question that I have for you guys, and this is something that, there has been, a few comments in the press about Krell and the engineering at Krell, and, just a little bit of discrepancy, controversy, if you will. I know David has been with Krell for over 3 decades. I wanted to just kind of give you guys an opportunity to set the record straight in terms of the continuity of Krell engineering through the years. David, I know that you've had a hand in many Krell products. Kind of walk us through your career with Krell in terms of product development for all these many years.
So when I started at Krell, the first product that I was working on was the KSA 80 amplifier. It had been partially designed at the point where I came on board, and I kind of took it the rest of the way into production. After that, I have designed products such as the KBL preamp, the KAS amplifier, KAS2 amplifier, the KSA 200S and KSA 300S amplifiers, the KRC2 preamp, and I've also been involved in some of the digital designs as well, namely the KPS 28 CD player, the Evolution 505 player, the Evolution 525 player, the HTS series of surround processors, the Evolution 707, the Foundation, and of course the most recent products that we have out, the K300i and the KSA i400. I've done software, I've done digital hardware design, obviously plenty of analog circuit design. And I've also done mechanical design as well and PC board layout. So I've done every type of task that is required for the type of products that we've been designing over the years. And I've been fortunate to have worked with a slew of very talented engineers over that time. And they have contributed greatly to Krell products over the years.
Well, that's a tremendous list of product offerings that kind of takes you really back and all the way to the current line. It's kind of a trip down memory lane for Krell aficionados of many ages, I'm sure. Well, I wanna ask you a question, Walter. Next, you mentioned we've been talking about the KSA i400. You mentioned that there is going to be a mono variant coming at some point after that. Is this these two products kind of products in isolation within the Krell line, or after the KSA i400 and I guess will be a KMA i800 perhaps?
Yes,
After
sir.
those products, are there going to be more products based on these coming, or are these two products kind of a block of products just to their own?
Just to real quickly on the last thing that David was speaking to, I'd like to point out that David has been also the co-developer of things like sustained plateau biasing, which was the precursor to iBias. His name is actually listed on the patent, and the XD technology and this new technology. But to answer your question, Jeff, the KSA i400 and the KMA i800 will stand alone as stereo and mono amplifiers, but there will be a preamplifier that will replace the Illusion 2-box preamplifier, introduced alongside those amplifiers, or perhaps following by a month or two later. A lot of the technology that's filtered down will ultimately be filtered down into what we call our core product lineup. Those are the amplifiers that we currently have out, the Duo, the Solo, and the Chorus amplifiers. We've already got an industrial design for those amplifiers. David's also got a lot of enhancements that he'll be working on for those amplifiers. And we also have some new preamp processors that David has, I'd say, and pardon me, David, if I'm off by a couple of ticks, but like 95% done. They just need a little bit of modernization, perhaps a few months to do that. A little bit of ID. We understand the significance of getting back into the home theater world. There will be new lifestyle components. We have in our plan more than 20 new products for the next 3 to 4 years.
Fantastic.
All types and variety.
Well, guys, listen, I really appreciate your time today, and we look forward to seeing you guys in Munich, which is just about a week away. By the time this video publishes, we'll be about a week away from Munich's high-end 2022, and we really look forward to seeing Krell there and all the other brands as well. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and we'll see you in Munich very shortly.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.